In the machine shops of Dayton, Ohio, where immigrant dreams collide with American steel, a young man named Tony Stein learns a truth that will save lives on a volcanic island he's never heard of. The truth is this: every problem is merely a puzzle waiting for the right tool. His hands know lathes and dies before they know rifles. His parents fled the pogroms of Eastern Europe, carrying nothing but the belief that in America, skill equals survival. According to military historian Joseph Alexander's exhaustive study of the 5th Marine Division, Stein represents a uniquely American phenomenon: the citizen soldier who brings civilian ingenuity to military crisis. September 1942. Tony trades his machinist's apron for Marine dress blues, but he cannot trade his mind. While other paramarines memorize manual procedures, Stein sees inefficiencies everywhere. On Bougainville in 1943, he watches machine gun crews struggle with a mathematical impossibility. The M1919 weighs 31 pounds and fires 400 rounds per minute, sufficient for defense but catastrophically slow for assault. Riflemen advance, gunners disassemble, carry, reassemble. Momentum dies in those minutes. The equation haunts him. November 1944, Camp Tarawa, Hawaii. The paramarines have been dissolved, their veterans scattered like seeds into standard Marine regiments. Stein finds himself in the 28th Marines 5th Division, preparing for an operation the brass won't name, but everyone knows. The next island will be worse than the last. It always is. Then Sergeant Mel Grevich approaches him with something impossible: an A&M-2 aircraft machine gun salvaged from a crashed dive bomber. 21 pounds, 1,200 rounds per minute, 3 times faster than the M1919, but designed for aircraft mounts with spade grips, no stock, no sights, unusable by infantry. Grevich asks the question that changes everything: can you make it work? Stein's mind sees the solution before his hands build it. According to weapon modification expert Ian McCollum's analysis of improvised firearms, the Stinger represents one of the most successful field adaptations in modern warfare. But in that Hawaiian maintenance shed, it's just 2 Marines with scrap metal and a problem. He carves down an M1 Garand buttstock, hollowing its spine to accept the aircraft gun's buffer tube. Sheet metal becomes a solenoid trigger through hours of precise fabrication. A Browning automatic rifle bipod gets welded to the front. Bar rear sights for aiming. The mathematics are elegant: reduce weight, multiply firepower, maintain mobility. They call it the Stinger. 6 weapons emerge from that shed: 1 for each rifle platoon, 1 for demolitions, 1 for Grevich, 1 for Stein. Some Marines call it brilliant, others call it a death trap waiting to jam or melt. One sergeant predicts it will fail on the first burst, but when Stein test fires it on the range, emptying 100 rounds in 5 seconds at 200 yards, the skeptics fall silent. The weapon's rate of fire sounds like fabric tearing: continuous, overwhelming, final. Battalion approves it. The Stinger is going to war. But here is what Stein understands that others don't: the weapon is not just a tool, it's a bargain. In combat psychology researcher Dave Grossman's seminal work On Killing, he identifies the critical factor in firefights as the side that can deliver overwhelming violence fastest. The Stinger delivers that violence, but it demands payment. 100 rounds gone in seconds. It will need constant feeding, constant resupply, constant sacrifice. Stein accepts the bargain. February 1945. The 5th Marine Division loads onto ships bound for a target finally revealed: Iwo Jima. 8 square miles of volcanic rock, 11 miles of interconnected tunnels. 21,000 Japanese defenders who have spent months preparing to make every inch of that island a killing ground. Intelligence estimates American casualties at 30%. They're optimistic. On the troop ship, Stein maintains the Stinger while others write letters home. He checks the solenoid trigger, tests the belt feed mechanism, ensures the modified stock is secure. His squad mates ask him about the weapon. Some want to know if it really fires 1,200 rounds per minute. Others want to know if he's scared. He tells them about the mathematics. Volume of fire equals suppression. Suppression equals movement. Movement equals survival. He doesn't tell them about the fear that coils in his gut like concertina wire. Eugene Sledge, who fought on Peleliu and Okinawa, wrote in With the Old Breed that the moments before battle contain a unique terror. The knowledge that you are sailing toward men who have spent months planning how to kill you specifically. The ships anchor off Iwo Jima on February 19th, 0900 hours. From the landing craft, Stein can see Mount Suribachi rising from the island's southern tip like a dark tooth. Smoke from naval bombardment drifts across black sand beaches. The volcanic rock absorbs the morning light, turning the island into a shadow. He checks the Stinger one final time. The weapon feels alive in his hands, ready. The landing craft's ramp drops. Black sand, the smell of sulfur, the sound of mortars bracketing the beach. And somewhere ahead, hidden in camouflaged pillboxes with overlapping fields of fire, Japanese machine gunners are waiting for men exactly like Tony Stein to step onto their killing ground. He is among the first from Company A to move beyond the beach. The Stinger is loaded. His bargain with violence is about to come due. What he doesn't know yet is that in the next 8 hours, he will make a decision that seems insane to everyone watching. He will kick off his boots and run barefoot through volcanic ash again and again, because mathematics don't care about pain, only about speed. The black volcanic sand doesn't behave like sand should. It shifts like ball bearings beneath boots, each step sinking 3 inches into loose ash that the island has been exhaling for centuries. Marines call it running through marbles. Stein crouches behind a shallow depression, gripping the Stinger while chaos orchestrates itself around him. Company A has made it perhaps 50 yards inland, 50 yards that cost them bodies twisted in the volcanic ash, Marines who will never move again. The Japanese defensive strategy on Iwo Jima represents, according to military historian Derek Wright, the most sophisticated tunnel warfare ever employed. Defenders emerge, fire, disappear into the earth, re-emerge elsewhere. You cannot kill what you cannot see. Stein can hear the Type 92 heavy machine guns but cannot locate them. The pillboxes are camouflaged masterpieces, volcanic rock and sand molded over concrete until the fortifications become indistinguishable from terrain. Muzzle flashes appear for seconds, then vanish. Around him, Marines are dying because standard infantry tactics assume you can identify your enemy's position. The math is simple and terrible. Pinned Marines equal dead Marines. He makes the decision that defines everything that follows. He stands up, fully upright in the middle of a beach where Japanese gunners have spent months calculating overlapping kill zones. Every defensive position on this island was built with one purpose: to murder standing men. But Stein needs them to reveal themselves. He needs to see the muzzle flashes, so he becomes the bait. Bullets snap past his head with sounds like angry wasps, the crack of supersonic rounds passing within inches. A mortar detonates close enough that he feels the concussion in his chest, and then, there, 75 yards northwest, a pillbox disgorges a brief flare of light, the barrel of a Type 92 protruding just inches. The Stinger comes to his shoulder. He squeezes the solenoid trigger. What happens next sounds like the sky tearing. 1,200 rounds per minute means 20 bullets every second. The pillbox doesn't just get suppressed, it disintegrates under a torrent of 30 caliber rounds. Volcanic rock explodes into dust. Sandbags shred. The Japanese machine gun falls silent, not because the crew takes cover, but because there is no longer anything recognizable as a defensive position. 5 seconds, 100 rounds, problem solved. Around Stein, Marines who seconds ago were frozen against death begin moving. Sergeants shout, riflemen advance. The assault breathes again. But Stein has already identified the second pillbox, 40 yards left. Another burst, another 5 seconds of continuous thunder, another position reduced to rubble. He charges the first fortification. Inside, 3 Japanese soldiers lie dead. The volume of fire didn't give them time to retreat. Combat medical research by military physician Colonel Ronald Bellamy documents that the Stinger's rate of fire created wounds fundamentally different from standard weapons, multiple simultaneous impacts that overwhelm the body's trauma response. Stein moves to the second pillbox. Same result, 2 enemy soldiers down, but then the Stinger goes light in his hands. The ammunition box is empty. Here is where the bargain reveals its price. 100 rounds consumed in less than 10 seconds of actual trigger time. The weapon is devastating and impossibly hungry. The ammunition resupply point sits 200 yards back near the waterline, where landing craft still unload under sporadic mortar fire. Stein will have to cross open ground, fully exposed, to feed his weapon. He starts running. The volcanic ash makes every stride an exercise in applied physics. His boots sink, his calves burn, and halfway to the beach he passes a wounded Marine, shrapnel wound to the left leg, conscious but immobile. Stein doesn't calculate. He grabs the man, slings him over his shoulder, and continues. This is the moment that begins to reshape how everyone will remember Tony Stein. Not just the weapon, not just the courage, but the mathematics of sacrifice. He runs toward danger to carry ammunition, runs back carrying wounded men, runs toward danger again. The equation repeats with each trip, but the variables get worse every time. At the supply point, corpsmen take the wounded Marine. Stein grabs 4 ammunition boxes, 2 in his pack, 1 in each hand, 400 rounds total. The return trip takes 3 minutes through a landscape where Japanese snipers have begun targeting Marines moving between positions. Bullets kick up black ash around his boots. A mortar round throws volcanic rock 30 yards to his right. He doesn't stop. When he reaches Company A's position, his platoon sergeant points to a third pillbox. This one has already killed 4 Marines. 2 previous assaults failed. It's a reinforced concrete position with a Type 96 light machine gun covering the approach to the airfield. Stein loads a fresh box. The Stinger's barrel is already hot from previous engagements. The thin aircraft-grade steel conducting heat with frightening efficiency. Ian McCollum notes that the ANM-2 was designed to be cooled by 300-mile-per-hour slipstreams during dive bombing runs. On the ground, there is no airflow, just accumulating heat that will eventually become catastrophic. But eventually hasn't happened yet. Stein advances alone on the pillbox. The Type 96 opens fire immediately, rounds snapping past his head and chest. He keeps walking, the Stinger at his shoulder. At 50 yards, he opens fire. The Japanese gunner cannot adjust his aim fast enough against 1,200 rounds per minute. Stein's fire finds the slit. The enemy gun dies. He charges the final distance and drops a grenade through the opening. The explosion is muffled, final. The ammunition box is empty again. By 10:30 hours, Stein has made 3 trips to the beach and back. He has carried 3 wounded Marines to safety. He has brought back 1,200 rounds of ammunition. His platoon has advanced 200 yards inland, destroying 7 enemy positions. And Stein has personally killed at least 15 Japanese soldiers. The Stinger is proving its worth, but the weapon is suffering. The barrel has discolored from sustained heat. The solenoid trigger occasionally sticks, and Stein's boots, soaked with sweat and abraded by volcanic ash, are disintegrating. He looks down at his feet during his 4th trip. The soles are nearly gone, leather cracked and torn. Running in them sends sharp pains through his arches with every step. The boots are adding friction, stealing seconds, and on this beach, seconds equal lives. Stein makes a calculation that appears insane to everyone watching. He unlaces his boots and kicks them off, barefoot in volcanic ash. The decision violates every regulation, every tactical doctrine, every survival instinct. But Stein understands something that others don't. He's not optimizing for comfort or safety. He's optimizing for speed. The math is brutal and simple. 5 pounds of equipment shed equals faster runs, equals more ammunition delivered, equals more wounded evacuated, equals more Marines alive. The volcanic ash is abrasive like broken glass, coarse enough to shred skin, but without rigid boot soles he can feel the terrain, adjust his stride, gain actual traction in the loose sand. It's faster, therefore it's correct. His 5th run to the beach takes 2 minutes and 40 seconds, a personal record. Barefoot, he carries another wounded Marine, unconscious from abdominal shrapnel. He delivers the man to corpsmen, loads up on ammunition, sprints back. By 1100 hours, Marines across the beach are starting to notice the barefoot corporal making repeated runs under fire. Some think he's lost his mind. Others think they're witnessing something they'll tell their grandchildren about, assuming they survive to have grandchildren. Stein doesn't think about either assessment. He thinks about the next pillbox, the next ammunition run, the next wounded Marine who needs carrying. Dave Grossman's research identifies this state as combat dissociation. The mind narrows its focus to immediate problems, filtering out fear, pain, even the concept of death. The Stinger empties. He runs. Bullets snap around him. He carries wounded. He returns with ammunition. The cycle repeats with mechanical precision. What no one knows yet, what Stein cannot know, is that he's creating a legend that will outlive him by 80 years. But legends don't think about legacy. They think about mathematics. Company A reaches the base of the first airfield by noon. 23 enemy positions destroyed. Stein personally accountable for 12. 9 wounded Marines saved. 2,000 rounds fired through a weapon that, by all engineering logic, should have catastrophically failed hours ago. The Stinger's barrel glows visibly after sustained fire now. The wooden stock is charred black. The bipod is loose, but it still fires. Stein loads another belt. There are more pillboxes ahead. More wounded Marines who will need carrying. More runs to make barefoot through volcanic glass. The bargain continues. By early afternoon, the battle for Iwo Jima has turned into a contest of endurance between human flesh and engineered steel. The island does not care who wins. The volcanic ash drinks blood without discrimination. Company A is pinned again. Ahead of them, a semicircle of 8 pillboxes forms a stone curtain across the approach to the airfield. Each position supports the others, interlocking fields of fire so tight that any Marine who rises above the shallow depressions in the ash is instantly engaged from multiple directions. Artillery cannot see. Tanks are bogged down near the beach, their treads swallowed by soft ground. For the second time that day, the advance threatens to die. Stein lies at the forward edge of Company A's line, chest heaving, Stinger across his arms like a living weight. His feet are torn open, blood mixing with black ash into a dark paste. Medical texts on barefoot locomotion in harsh environments describe progressive nerve desensitization. After a certain threshold, pain becomes background noise while the brain prioritizes survival tasks. Stein has passed that threshold hours ago. He studies the 8 pillboxes, narrow firing slits, trenches linking the positions, Japanese soldiers moving through the network like blood through veins. This is not a static defense, it's an organism. The Stinger has one advantage left: volume of fire. He stands. Again. He picks the leftmost pillbox and opens fire. 5 seconds, 100 rounds. The firing slit vomits dust and fragments, then goes dark. He shifts right. Another box, another burst. The Stinger's rate of fire has dropped, heat warping the barrel, fatigue invading the mechanism, but it is still faster than anything the enemy can bring to bear. While Stein works across the arc, Marines around him notice a pattern. When the Stinger roars, Japanese guns go silent. When Japanese guns go silent, they can move. Nobody shouts orders. The coordination arrives instinctively. They advance in the wake of the sound. He empties the box, drops flat, reloads with hands that shake from exhaustion and adrenaline, then stands again. Fire, suppress, drop, reload. The rhythm feels almost surgical. By 13:30 hours, 5 of the 8 pillboxes are destroyed. The remaining 3 are abandoned, their crews either dead in the trenches or retreating into deeper tunnels. 17 Japanese soldiers confirmed killed. Company A has lost more men, but the line moves forward once more. The Stinger, however, is dying. Its barrel is visibly bent now, just a few degrees off-center, enough to widen shot patterns and affect accuracy. The wooden stock is charred and splintered. The solenoid trigger fires in erratic bursts, sometimes 1 round, sometimes 5, sometimes nothing, until Stein slams it with the heel of his hand. Any ordnance officer would declare the weapon unserviceable. Stein reloads. He has made 8 trips to the beach and back. He has carried wounded Marines on every return. He has fired more than 2,000 rounds, much of it while walking upright in places where men are supposed to crawl. His muscles burn, his lungs feel lined with ash, and his feet are a map of open wounds. Yet when another reinforced position stops the advance, everyone turns instinctively to the barefoot corporal with the broken gun. The next test comes when the enemy targets not his body, but the heart of his strategy. During the assault on another pillbox, a Japanese Type 96 machine gunner lands a perfect hit, not on Stein, but on the Stinger. The impact rips the weapon from his hands and sends it skidding across the ash. Suddenly, he is unarmed, exposed, in the open. Every instinct screams at him to dive for cover and stay there. He dives, yes, but behind a low ridge that offers minimal protection. The Stinger lies in no man's land between him and the enemy position, the bent barrel smoking faintly, the belt feed mechanism damaged. The Japanese soldiers know exactly what just happened. They have spent months training to detect vulnerability, to kill opportunity before it can be reborn. They know the barefoot American has been the nucleus of this advance. They wait for him to move. Stein stares at the weapon in the ash. He could wait for another Marine to drag it back. He could pick up a standard rifle. He could let the battle continue without the Stinger and accept whatever casualties result. Instead, he chooses the option that makes no emotional sense but perfect mathematical sense. He runs. He bursts from cover in a zigzag, exposing himself to the same fire that just killed his weapon. Rounds snap past his head, chest, legs. He feels air move where bullets pass close enough to rearrange his future by inches. Later accounts from Marines in Company A describe this moment with a mixture of awe and disbelief, comparing it to watching a man sprint across a firing range while the targets shoot back. 3 seconds to reach the Stinger. He dives, grabs the weapon, rolls behind another ridge, every nerve screaming. When he inspects the gun, the damage is obvious. A round has mangled the feed mechanism, bending guide rails, twisting metal. The weapon should be done. He clears the jam with his fingers, ignoring the heat biting his skin. Loads a fresh belt, tests a 3-round burst. It works. Imperfectly, slower, rougher, but it works. He stands and pours 100 rounds into the pillbox that nearly ended his war. Concrete explodes. The enemy gun falls silent in an instant that feels like revenge but is really just calculation. Remove the source of greatest threat first. By 1400 hours, Company A has advanced roughly 400 yards from the beach. They have destroyed 23 enemy positions. Stein has personally accounted for at least a dozen. 9 wounded men owe their lives to his runs between Hell and its supply depot. Yet even legends obey biology. His feet are bleeding freely now, every step a new injury layered onto old damage. Volcanic ash and blood conspire to create an abrasive paste grinding into torn skin. His hands are blistered. Shrapnel fragments from earlier near misses sting in his leg and back. Medical research on acute combat performance shows that the human body, under adrenaline, can operate well beyond normal endurance thresholds, but only for limited periods before collapse becomes inevitable. Stein is approaching that invisible cliff. As if sensing this, the battle presents one more escalation. Japanese infiltrators begin probing the newly won positions at night, slipping through gaps, testing defenses, looking for weak points. Sleep becomes a rumor. Every shadow could hide a man with a bayonet and a different flag. Stein lies in his shallow fighting hole, the wrecked Stinger beside him. The weapon should be in an armorer's hands. Instead, it waits next to the man who refuses to abandon it. When an enemy shape appears 30 yards out, the gun still answers. A short burst. A body collapses. The perimeter holds. By dawn, Stein has been awake for 22 hours. He has crossed and recrossed the same deadly stretch of beach so many times that other Marines measure distance by his runs. They stop referring to trips as 200 yards to the surf and start saying about half a Stein. He has become a unit of measurement. This is the heart of Act 3, a man and a machine breaking together step by step, shot by shot, yet somehow continuing forward. Every logical threshold of fear, exhaustion, and pain has been crossed, and still the barefoot corporal stands up when others stay down. The mountain ahead, Mount Suribachi, dominates the skyline, its summit choked with Japanese observers calling artillery down on every movement. Between Stein and that summit lies more ash, more concrete, more bunkers, more men whose job is to ensure he never sees another sunrise. He will see the mountain. He will even begin to climb it. But the cost of reaching that slope is already written across his body in blood and scars, and the island is not finished with him yet. February 20th arrives not with sunrise, but with the resumption of violence. Mount Suribachi looms 550 feet above sea level, every yard of its slope saturated with Japanese defensive positions. The 28th Marines begin their assault at 0800 hours, climbing terrain that offers no cover, no concealment, only volcanic ash that slides underfoot and exposed ridges where enemy observers can track every movement. Stein climbs barefoot carrying the Stinger. An armorer worked on the weapon overnight, replacing the most catastrophically damaged components. A new belt feed mechanism, some minor repairs to the trigger assembly, but the barrel remains bent, accuracy degraded, and the entire weapon feels like it's held together by willpower and friction rather than proper engineering. It fires, that's all that matters. The mountain has been fortified with over 60 distinct positions, pillboxes, bunkers, cave entrances, all connected through the tunnel network that historian Joseph Alexander describes as three-dimensional warfare where the enemy could appear from below as easily as ahead. The Japanese have stockpiled ammunition, food, and water inside the mountain itself. They intend to make the Americans pay in blood for every vertical foot. At Aero 930, halfway up the southern slope, Company A encounters a bunker complex that stops the advance cold. 4 reinforced concrete structures linked by trenches, mortar crews firing from concealed pits, machine guns covering every approach. Stein moves forward with the damaged Stinger. He identifies the primary bunker and unleashes what firepower remains. The bent barrel scatters his rounds wider than before, but at close range, volume still overwhelms precision. The position falls silent long enough for demolition teams to sprint forward with satchel charges. Concrete erupts. The bunker dies. Company A climbs another 50 yards. Then at 10:15 hours, Stein's luck, which has been stretched so thin it's nearly transparent, finally snaps. A Japanese grenade lands 3 feet from his position. He sees it. A Type 97 hand grenade, the fuse already burning. He tries to move, his torn feet scrambling for purchase in the loose ash, but exhaustion has stolen the speed that kept him alive yesterday. The grenade detonates before he clears the kill radius. Shrapnel tears into his right arm, right leg, torso. Multiple wounds, none immediately fatal, but he's bleeding from a dozen places simultaneously. The world narrows to a tunnel of pain and ringing ears. A corpsman reaches him within minutes. The same corpsmen who have watched this man run through fire for 8 hours straight, who have received the wounded he carried, who understand exactly how many Marines owe their lives to the barefoot corporal. They bandage the wounds with hands that work faster than thought. They call for evacuation. Stein refuses. His platoon is still engaged. The Stinger, miraculously untouched by the grenade, still has ammunition. There are pillboxes ahead that need suppressing. The mathematics haven't changed just because his body is leaking. He continues fighting. For 2 more hours, Stein provides fire support while bleeding through field dressings. Every time a position opens up on advancing Marines, he suppresses it. Every time Japanese soldiers appear in the trench networks, he cuts them down with sustained bursts that drink ammunition faster than water. But the human body obeys physics as surely as bullets do. By 12:30 hours, blood loss has entered dangerous territory. His vision begins to narrow, edges going soft and dark. He feels lightheaded, disconnected, as though watching himself from a distance. Medical literature on acute hemorrhagic shock describes this progression with clinical precision. First, the body compensates by increasing heart rate and constricting peripheral blood vessels. Then compensation fails. Then organs begin shutting down. The corpsman tells him what he already knows: immediate evacuation or death on the mountain. Those are the only options left. This time, Stein doesn't argue. He hands the Stinger to another Marine in his squad, a transfer of responsibility that feels like amputating part of himself. The weapon that he built, that saved his platoon, that became an extension of his will, it goes to someone else's hands. He allows corpsmen to carry him down the mountain. From the beach, a landing craft transports him to a hospital ship anchored offshore. Doctors remove shrapnel from his arm, leg, and torso with practiced efficiency. They treat him for blood loss and infection. They tell him his war is over. He will be sent to a rear area hospital, possibly Hawaii, possibly stateside. His feet alone guarantee he won't return to combat for months. On the hospital ship, Stein lies in a clean bunk with clean sheets, surrounded by men with clean wounds being treated by people who aren't being shot at. It should feel like salvation. Instead, it feels like abandonment. On February 21st, the 28th Marines continue their assault on Suribachi without him. The fighting remains savage. Every cave must be cleared with flamethrowers. Every trench taken in close combat where men kill each other with knives and entrenching tools when ammunition runs out. On February 23rd at 10:20 hours, a patrol from Easy Company reaches the summit. They raise a small American flag. Later that afternoon, a larger flag goes up. Photographer Joe Rosenthal captures the moment that will become the most iconic image of the Pacific War. Stein is not there. He is on a hospital ship recovering, while his brothers fight and die on a mountain he helped them reach. The news that reaches him on February 25th hits harder than any grenade. The 5th Marine Division has pushed north from Suribachi toward Hill 362A. The fighting has turned catastrophic. Company A has lost 30% of its strength in 2 days. His platoon sergeant is dead. His squad leader is dead. Men he trained with in Hawaii are being killed on nameless hills, and he is lying in a hospital bed. On February 26th, Tony Stein makes a decision that medical officers will later call insane and Marines will call inevitable. He leaves the hospital ship, against medical orders, without clearance, technically AWOL. He climbs down into a landing craft returning to the beach, tells the boat crew he's been cleared to return to duty, and nobody questions the barefoot corporal badly enough to stop him. He reaches the beach at 1400 hours, requisitions new boots from a supply sergeant. His feet are still bandaged but functional. Grabs an M1 Garand from a supply dump. The Stinger is gone, either destroyed or in another Marine's hands. It doesn't matter. Stein walks north across Iwo Jima, 6 miles through volcanic ash, past destroyed positions, past burned-out tanks, past graves registration teams collecting American dead. He reaches Company A at Hill 362A on February 27th. The company has been reduced to 63 men from its original strength of 240. The survivors look like ghosts wearing Marine uniforms. They have been fighting for 8 consecutive days without rest, without relief, against an enemy that refuses to surrender. When Stein reports to the company commander, nobody asks why he's back. Nobody questions the decision. They put him on the line immediately because Company A needs every rifle. For the next 2 days, he fights in brutal close-quarters combat. No Stinger, just an M1 Garand and grenades. The fighting is slower without the improvised machine gun, more deliberate, but Stein remains effective because he understands something fundamental. Combat is problem-solving under lethal pressure. Identify the threat, calculate the solution, execute without hesitation. But here is the truth that hangs over Act 4 like smoke over the battlefield. Stein's body is breaking faster than it can heal. His feet have not recovered. The shrapnel wounds have not closed. He is running on determination and adrenaline, and both are finite resources. On March 1st, 1945, Company A receives orders for a reconnaissance patrol, 19 Marines. Mission: move forward 400 yards, locate a complex of Japanese pillboxes harassing the regiment, return with intelligence, no assault, just reconnaissance. Corporal Tony Stein is designated assistant patrol leader. At Soto 700 hours, the patrol moves out into volcanic ridges and ravines that are perfect for ambush. They advance slowly, 20 yards at a time, knowing that Japanese soldiers watch from concealed positions. At SO 745, they reach a ridge overlooking a small valley. Stein moves to the front to observe the terrain, his Garand ready, his feet aching in boots that cover wounds not yet healed. He signals the patrol to advance. He steps forward, and at 0752 hours, a single shot cracks across the volcanic landscape. The bullet strikes Tony Stein in the head. He drops instantly. The patrol reacts the way 19 men always react when one of them falls to an invisible rifle. They hit the ground. They scan the ridgelines, the rocks, the shadows that have teeth. Someone shouts for a corpsman who is already moving. Rifles bark toward a patch of volcanic stone 200 yards away where the shot might have come from, or might not have. On Iwo Jima, the earth itself can shoot you. The corpsman reaches Stein in seconds. There is nothing to be done. The man who ran 8 times through a killing ground, who built a weapon from aircraft scraps, who climbed a mountain on wounded feet and then walked away from a hospital ship to rejoin a decimated company, dies in the ash at 0753 on March 1, 1945. A single bullet ends what artillery, machine guns, mines, grenades, and exhaustion could not. The patrol calls in mortars on the suspected sniper hide. High explosives pulverize the ridge. Whether the sniper dies beneath that bombardment will never be known. Japanese doctrine teaches them not to leave bodies where Americans can find them. The island swallows its secrets along with its dead. The patrol completes its mission. They locate the pillbox complex, they bring back the intelligence, and they carry Tony Stein's body with them, a silent weight that feels heavier than the ammunition and radios combined. In the weeks that follow, the Battle of Iwo Jima grinds on. The tunnel system beneath the island becomes a mass grave as 16, 17, 20,000 Japanese soldiers fight to the last rather than surrender. By the time the island is declared secure on March 26th, nearly 7,000 Americans are dead and about 20,000 wounded. Of the roughly 21,000 defenders, fewer than 1,000 survive. Statistically, Stein is just one name in those numbers. But statistics have never told the whole story. The other Stinger guns see their own shares of violence. 2 are destroyed by enemy fire. 1 overheats and jams permanently. A couple survive the battle only to vanish later into the military's habit of discarding non-standard equipment. None of the original 6 weapons exist today. The metal is gone. The legend is not. Armorers repeat the tale of the toolmaker from Dayton who looked at a problem most men accepted as fate and decided it was just bad engineering. Marines tell new recruits about the barefoot corporal who ran through mortar fire without boots or helmet because 5 pounds of gear meant seconds lost, and seconds lost meant Marines dead. Combat historians point to February 19th as a case study in how individual initiative can temporarily rewrite tactical equations on a battlefield that seems mathematically unwinnable. In 1945, Lieutenant Colonel Chandler Johnson drafts a recommendation for the Medal of Honor, detailing Stein's 8 trips to the beach, the wounded he evacuated, the positions he destroyed, the way he stood upright under withering fire to force the enemy to reveal itself. The recommendation climbs the chain of command, Regiment, Division, Fleet Marine Force, Pacific, gathering signatures like witnesses at a trial where courage is the only evidence that matters. Everyone agrees. What he did was not just brave. It was something beyond the call of duty, beyond self-preservation, beyond the reasonable. On February 19, 1946, exactly 1 year after the day Stein first ran barefoot through volcanic ash with the Stinger in his hands, his widow Joan stands in the Ohio State House. The governor presents her with a blue-ribboned medal whose weight cannot be measured in ounces. Stein's mother weeps quietly beside her. The citation speaks of improvised weapons and pillboxes reduced and wounded evacuated. It mentions conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. It does not mention the word Stinger. That name, like so many battlefield truths, survives in the oral history of the men who were there. 3 years later, Stein's body returns from the island where he fell. He is buried with full military honors in Dayton. The boy who once stood at a lathe, calculating tolerances in thousandths of an inch, is laid into the ground of a country that asked for everything and received it. And yet his story does not end in that grave. Because every generation finds itself facing its own version of a black sand beach. Sometimes it's not a battlefield, but a crisis that seems too big, too fortified, too entrenched to challenge. A system that says this is how it has always been. A set of rules that quietly accept certain levels of suffering as the cost of doing business. In those moments, the question Stein answered with his life returns to us like an echo across 80 years. When the problem in front of you looks impossible, do you lie down in the ash and wait for instructions? Or do you build a new tool? Do you accept the speed you are told is good enough? Or do you risk everything to move faster because you know that on the other end of that calculation there are people who live or die based on how quickly you solve the puzzle? Do you keep your boots on because regulations say so, or do you kick them off when the math says they're slowing you down? Modern combat psychology, from Grossman's exploration of the human cost of killing to post-9/11 studies on unit cohesion and sacrifice, keeps circling the same phenomenon. In every war, a small fraction of people step into a role they did not ask for, absorbing risks so others can move forward. Not because they are fearless, but because they have done the calculation and cannot live with the alternative. Tony Stein was one of them. His legacy is not just a Medal of Honor citation or a footnote in the story of Iwo Jima. It is a template, a reminder that expertise built in peacetime, tool-making, problem-solving, relentless attention to detail can become a lifeline in moments of chaos. A warning that the tools we construct will always ask for something in return, and an invitation whispered from a black sand beach across time to look at the worst problem in front of you and ask, what if the solution doesn't exist yet? What if it's your job to build it? On a February morning in 1945, a young man from Dayton answered that question with steel, sweat, blood, and 8 barefoot runs between death and the place where more ammunition waited. 80 years later, the sand has settled. The island is quiet. But if you listen closely beneath the tourist footsteps and the wind across Suribachi's summit, you can still almost hear it. The tearing sound of 1,200 rounds a minute, the ragged breathing of a man who refuses to stop, and the steady, relentless rhythm of a heart that understood better than most that the difference between impossible and merely difficult is often just the courage to stand up in the open and say, "Show me where you are."